Rain or shine, we're back here for another episode of Stream of Thought.
42!
42! And on today's episode, we begin by talking about a recap of Victor's latest show.
We talk about
Sabotage.
the second running of Sabotage.
Was it Sabotage?
Sabotage, yeah.
You'll have to listen to
it was
find out.
Total different energy. You're just going to have to listen and find out.
Then we transition into sports.
Yes.
Football.
It took you a second to think about it.
I know. I was thinking about that.
NFL, NCAA,
Fantasy, college ball.
college ball. Then what do we talk about after that?
Oh, man. One of those topics. Sweet home, Alabama.
Alabama.
Is it a sweet home?
Not so much for some people.
But that's cool, though, because they have a warmer climate than we have up here north, which is what we round out our conversation talking about. The approaching of the darkness
Winter.
is here.
Episode number 42, Stream of Thought. We hope you enjoy. So, last night was our second show of Sabotage.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was so fucking weird because it was just like a way different energy. The crowd was not as high energy and laughing as much as the crowd from the week before. So I'm like on stage and the other thing too is they painted the wall on stage like orange. So that like threw everybody off. But it was just really weird to experience that. Like the group goes up and as people are like coming back to the green room, they're like, "Oh man, rough crowd. How is it out there? Oh, typical second show crowd. Hey, what's it like? Is it a full house?" It's like, yeah, there's about the same amount of people, maybe a little less or something. But
Okay, so
but
there was
everyone's
about
just
the
like,
same, yeah.
everyone's got that look on their face, just like, oh man,
Well,
tough one.
keep in mind too that for the first show, the adrenaline's going, and I think everyone there too like senses the energy. So I think the second showing, it's just the dynamic that the actors share with the audience. I think,
Yeah.
and you guys are more in your flow, so you're not thinking as much. Your mind's not going a million miles an hour,
Yeah.
and so now you have time to like take everything in. So it may sort of distort your perspective.
But I'm trying to think too, like because an audience, a crowd, is just like this group of people made up of all these little individuals. Why is it that one crowd has more individuals that laugh harder or at certain areas and another crowd? Like, it's weird because it's a group of individuals, but at the same time, the audience is one entity.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's weird.
Were you guys talking about that at all? Like trying to like unravel the mystery?
I mean,
of...
that's just like a known thing that all the directors
yeah,
and other people,
I've
people
heard
just
that.
know that.
I've heard
and
that
yeah,
myself,
the best
for
night
sure.
to, I do know for sure that, like people say, not just at Second City, but in general, the best night to see a show is opening night because of like the adrenaline for all the actors and everything. But anyway, everyone that's coming off, because we're the fifth group, so like group after group after group, it's just like, oh man, sucks out there. Good luck, like break a leg, like, and so, and I'm behind the stage for the group before us, and a few times the actors come behind stage because they leave, they exit, and then they come back on, and even there, like, man, I can't wait for this to be over. Man, this really sucks. I'm just like, what the hell? And we go out to do our scene, and, the light comes on, and I say my line, and then Jessica says her line. She starts her, like, monologue, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking to myself, like, what are you doing? You skipped a line. And I was like, oh, fuck. I fucked it up.
Oh, no.
Because the first line is, those who cast the stone create the ripples that follow. We were initially going to say that at the same time, both of us. And then last minute for the show, I was just going to say, those who cast the stone. And then she would say, create the ripples that follow. I didn't realize I said the whole line on my own. So then she just went straight to her monologue, which is fine because that's not something that like
for sure.
an audience knows. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely not.
And then when I start to say my line, I'm facing the audience, and then when I turn to start my monologue, I turn into the stage. And the thing is too, like 5 minutes before they opened house, they're like, oh, by the way, guys, we painted the wall on the stage. It should be fine, but just want to let you know. So we walk out there, we're like, what the fuck is this? Because it used to be, it's just a black wall.
Yeah.
Now it's like this shade of like red on the bottom half, molding going through, and then like a shade of orange very close to that shade of red.
Yeah.
So when Jessica's saying her line, I'm facing the audience and I have this moment like, oh, I fucked it up. Okay, my line, and then I turn and then I'm like, oh fuck, this stupid wall is painted orange also. So like that was on the forefront of my mind while I was saying my line too, and like the whole time that I'm doing this scene, I just can't get out of my head that I'm standing next to this orange fucking wall. Like, I was just like, what the hell?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dude, it's crazy how those like little things can just be distracting. And it's, again, it's like a ripple effect where you get distracted by one thing, then you get distracted by another thing, and it sort of builds up to... But you got through it?
Yeah, it was totally fine. Like, everyone did a great job. And actually, Amy, though, was telling me, like, something got fucked up in her scene, but she didn't tell me the whole thing because then, like... people from her scene start. I don't know. I can't remember what it was, but I think everybody, like everybody in the show. I haven't talked to like the directors, but everyone was just like, not. Everyone felt great in their performance. But when you're on there, I've experienced like when the audience isn't lively, like you feel like your performance is very flat.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
And so it has nothing necessarily to do with like your performance. It's like it's weird because it's different doing a rehearsal in front of like your other actors or only the director and knowing that there's no one there and then like actually doing a live show and it almost feels more dead than like as if nobody were to be in the room.
So it's interesting because as you were speaking, I was thinking about, again, going back to my own experience in preaching, and I'm a scripted preacher. I have a script, and I memorize it, and then I read it in an engaging way. But, you know, in doing that and working to be engaging with the congregation, you are very aware of what the vibe of the congregation is, and for me, I like to insert stupid little jokes that you know sometimes work and sometimes don't. But it's one of those things where if a joke or lighthearted whatever doesn't seem to go over, and you're just getting these blank stares or people literally looking down at their phones, you can acknowledge it. And what I've done in the past is I will deviate for a sentence or so and just acknowledge whatever's in the room. Like if you're feeling a particular vibe and you acknowledge it, it does wonders to break the ice, at least in my experience. I don't know if it would necessarily work as well in a sketch improv, but I see, because I was trying to relate this. I've been thinking about this a lot. And SNL was on last night.
Oh, I didn't see it.
And, you know, they do sketch improvs as their thing. That's their thing. But I'm watching it, and I'm thinking about all the sketch improv things that I've seen from SNL. And it feels like sketch improv is probably one of the hardest things to make funny, because I see so often that even on the highest level, like at SNL, you'll have the audience not laughing at jokes. It just goes flat, and everyone's just sort of kind of thing. And you, like, viewing it on TV, sense that as well. And it's like, oh, this is so awkward. This is so uncomfortable right now. They're totally bombing and not doing it. But then you'll have, in the middle of those improv sketches, someone say or do something that just totally acknowledges the uncomfortableness in the room, and you'll see that dam break, and people will be a little more like, at least they know that it's a crappy sketch or something like that.
Well, ours, I think it was too, like, I mean, we got laughs in all of the scenes. There were laughs, but I can't tell if and when we walked off stage, people were like, oh man, we could hear people totally laughing at your scene. I was like, I wasn't even paying attention to that. But I think it's like comparing it with last week, like there were so many laughs in spots that we didn't think there would be laughs. So it's like, and everyone, in our opinion, like it's like, oh, the show wasn't that great, but maybe it was really great. But when you're comparing it to last week, it doesn't seem like that, you know. But yeah, it was definitely interesting to experience that.
And don't forget,
change.
The first show too has a lot more improv in it, because you guys are still getting used to actually performing live. So there's less of that spontaneity in.
Well, we don't have. This wasn't improv. This is all scripted.
Yeah, no, I know it's scripted, but you guys can flow.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
If something, like you missed a line or whatever.
Oh, that happened too. So last week when I had explained that my line was, be like what? He's not good enough for you. What was the last book he read? Even I was 10 times the man he is. I only was able to say the first half of that when Karina then like said her thing, which is fine because whatever. But then this week, that same exact line, I got to through half of it, be like, well, he's not good enough for you. And then my mind just fucking blanked for like a second.
Yeah.
And I was like, for some reason, I just don't know what this next line is. And it was great because like Karina picked that up real quick and then said her line. So like without skipping a beat, the dialogue still flowed.
Yeah.
But I have a lot of fun right now doing this for the first time and experiencing all these little weird things that can happen on stage.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
I'm looking forward to hearing how following shows end up turning out.
Yeah, so I'm not like, I mean, those are things that I was told too. I'd asked one of my previous instructors, who was one of the directors for the scenes, was like, "Hey, Derek, have you ever, what's like the biggest fuck up you've experienced, or like what, like tell me something about like being on stage where like something didn't go as planned." And he had told me like, yeah, there was a show. It was pretty rough. Like someone had forgotten their lines, and I said to him like, "Oh, did the audience know, or like what was it like?" Because you could feel like you fuck up on stage, and you can still, whoever's on there, like make it flow well, and the audience will never know, you know. And he was like, "Oh no, I think he said that they had broke character, and like the audience for sure knew, and it was like kind of rough, but it's just like it's growing pains, that shit happens
for sure."
But my approach towards it is like, I'm never gonna be like, "Oh my gosh, I fucked up." Like I'm not gonna lose any sleep over it. I'm just gonna be like, "Oh well, that happened." Like,
did the best that you could.
You can't, like, if it happens, you have to learn from it and just kind of laugh at yourself. I really like laughing at myself, and I really like laughing at other people. Not with other people, but I really enjoy laughing at other people, knowing full well the opportunity will come for them to laugh at me, and I'll laugh at myself with them.
That's what makes you a future comedian, my friend. Stand-up specials.
But yeah, that was pretty good. And then what was really interesting was I noticed, completely unrelated to the stage, we go to the bar afterwards and we're just hanging out, and they got the TVs on, and I realized this earlier in the day when we were eating lunch at Corcoran's, and I don't really like it when TVs are on at a bar unless they're playing sports.
Yes.
Because no matter what is on television, I personally am always just like gravitated to just see whatever's on the screen, even if it's a movie and I can't hear what's going on. But it's like, this is annoying because I'm trying to have a conversation with someone, but like my attention is just always being pulled by this fucking TV. That's an interesting
observation, yeah.
And if it's a sporting event, it's way more acceptable. But if someone sees me looking at the TV all the time, I feel like an asshole, but I can't help it. It's just this thing that's there, and I'm just like, what?
There were a couple of bars in New York that there was one that played sci-fi movies all the time and had two TVs up by the bar, and every time I went there, you're so right. It draws your attention, even if you're in conversation or going back and forth. And when there's that lull, you're just like, oh, what's up there?
Yeah.
And then you get sucked into it.
Yeah.
And as opposed to a sporting event where plays are 15 seconds and it's over, and you can be like,
a commercial or whatever. Yeah.
Attention goes back to the conversation. But with the movies, you're just, what's going to happen next? Oh. What a fascinating show we're watching right now.
Yeah, they were. I can't remember what the movie was on last night. It was some '80s cop movie with. I can't remember
better than News.
I can't remember what it's called, but it was not Beverly Hills Cop. But anyway, the week before, I remember like they started playing Planet Earth, and I'm like, "What are you doing playing Planet Earth?" Because now I don't care about any conversation. I am Planet Earth.
Absolutely.
Planet Earth you can watch without volume
for sure.
Like I am totally into that. I will for sure watch that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
And then also the other thing that I don't like is when we were at Corcoran's, I don't know what the teams were, but it was like I don't even know why it was on TV. But I mean, like Iowa and Wisconsin was playing, which I'll watch that game. I can't remember what the other two teams were, but I'm just like, this is just oh no, it was Yeah, it was like the night before or something. I think they may have had like high school football on or something like weird. Like I don't know what it was.
Yeah, that's possible.
But I'm just like watching this game that's on TV because it happens to be on TV at this bar. I'm like, what am I watching? What teams are this? Why is this such terrible television or sporting? Like, just please have. I'd rather have this TV be blank, not because of the thing that it distracts me, but it's because this is just some like unknown Division I schools that happen to be Division I somehow that happen to have time on television.
Oh,
and
yeah,
like,
because they do have. That's
like
right.
this
They
is
do
the
have
most
Thursday, Friday.
You can just
Saturday,
totally
Wednesday.
tell by just the name of the school. It's just some random ass tiny.
And then they
ass
show the
school.
stadium, and there are 5 people in the
yeah,
stands.
yeah, exactly. It's like, stop wasting my time with this, please.
It is interesting. People crave that. People crave sports, and that's part of the reason why they've started now. I think it's in November. They start playing every day but Sunday and Monday, college ball. So they have games on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and
football?
Saturday. College football games. Yeah.
Okay, good, because this would have been on Thursday, or no, this was on Friday night. This was on Friday night.
Yep.
And I thought it was weird. I was like, this looks like it's college, but it's. I don't think it was high school. But
what time?
this is in the evening. This is like
9:30?
Yeah, this is like later at night.
That would have been Washington, Stanford, I think.
No, I would
You wouldn't
recognize.
know that?
I
Okay.
recognize the big
'Cause
schools.
I think that was the game that was on Friday, but there were a couple. So
Yeah, I recognize the.
But
big
yeah,
schools,
they do have a lot of those smaller schools playing during the weekdays, and again, it's that culture. It's so interesting too because you see the massive decline in football participation for youth. It's at record lows for the first time. You have all of these. Well, now there's the debate in the NFL about Thursday night football games
Why?
because of the injuries. The latest one was Seattle Seahawks. Sherman. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
That great defender.
Yeah.
He ended up getting his Achilles tendon torn. And he's in the past said that Thursday night games don't give players enough time to rest and recover, and so they're more prone to injury.
Oh, like
And
if
so-
they had played on Monday
so
or something,
you see
or
during
Sunday.
Thursday, yeah. So you see during all these Thursday night games a higher rate of injury, and a lot of the stars have been going down. This, I mean, they Around the Horn on ESPN was making
Interesting.
a joke like if you put all of the players on injured reserve on a team together, that would be a Super Bowl team, no doubt. Because it's all there's J.J. Watt, Sherman. Now you have all these great players that are getting injured or re-injured because they don't have enough time for their bodies to recover, is what they're arguing. And then you have the concussion issues that came out a couple of years ago, and then in college you have the NCAA corruption scandals, where basically you have these legal things of not being able to pay players, but then you have colleges subverting the rules by giving them cars and stuff like that.
Right.
So there's, controversy on every single level. And decline. Most parents these days that I talk to won't let their kids play football.
I predict that in like 50 years, that football will no longer be like the number one sport in America. Like
I could see
I could
50
see like
years football not existing anymore.
Really?
I could see it dying out as a sport.
and for sure in 100 years, people looking back be like, how barbaric of a sport. These people are fucking crazy.
Yeah, like the gladiator.
Yeah,
bits.
I was about to say that same thing.
Well,
yeah,
and I've made that academic comparison between the sports and the gladiator type kill your enemy type attitude that the cultural attitude that we have, and it's very fascinating because it's like modern day gladiatorial fighting.
When was it that there was like the scandal for like bounty hunting?
Oh,
like the
that
Saints or
was
something like that?
2014, I want to say. It was the Saints Bounty Gate. Yeah. That's
so fucked up.
And there's just so many problems with football right now. And then you add in the controversy about NFL players kneeling and all that. And you had Papa John's come out and say the reason why his pizza sales are down is because NFL players are kneeling. I think I told you that.
Yeah, you said something like
so
because the reason
stupid.
pizza sales are down is because NFL players are kneeling.
Just Papa John's.
Pizza is sold when men watch football, and men don't watch football when players are kneeling. Like some totally stupid like
it was some convoluted logic to try and make a political point. It's just absolutely absurd.
I've thought too, because being an athlete, you're in the spotlight. Like the whole kneeling thing, like you have to pick a side. You either stand or you don't stand. But it's like, what do you do if like I don't want to be a part of this? Like I just want to play football. I don't, you know what I'm saying? But you're forced to pick a side.
Well, the problem becomes is that you're forced to pick a side, but you either have to believe that the players are protesting kids getting shot in the streets and that's why they're protesting, or you have to believe that they're kneeling because they want to disrespect our military. It's like you can't have a middle ground. That's the narrative in mainstream culture, is that like you if you do not agree that their kneeling is disrespecting the military, then by default you have to believe that, you know, they're kneeling for racial injustice. And it's like one or the other. You can't have a middle ground of, well, can't you see both sides kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which actually, I think we're far enough in right now where I can...
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's perfect segue.
Perfect segue, actually.
Alabama.
I feel so bad.
Don't.
So, you know, I've had plenty of experience with Alabama over the years.
I know.
And Alabama has been in the news recently a lot.
Tell me. I don't know anything about this.
It has been just absolutely fascinating to watch. It has been titillating, let's say. Because you have a Senate candidate right now. His name is Roy Moore, famous for...
I heard about
He's
him.
the Ten Commandments judge.
Okay.
He's running for the Republican Senate seat in Alabama. And the general election is a month away, and it was just revealed like a week ago, maybe even less than a week, that he had a relationship with a 14-year-old girl. And the news that followed from this was quite interesting because you have it broke in the Washington Post, and they had a very well-sourced piece, 30 sources, 4 women who were all in their teens, all under 18, who stated that he had tried to have relationships with them. So underage. Of course, in Alabama, the age of consent is 16.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
Wow.
So you could get married at 16 if you wanted. Yeah, you could be a 30-year-old man marrying a 16-year-old girl in Alabama, and that would be totally legal. And that actually happens. It's not infrequent for that to happen. And so you have the news coming out first that he's a fucking pedophile, and then the fact that he's, even though it's legal in the state of Alabama, he was in his mid-30s while he was dating 16-year-old girls. That's kind of creepy.
I thought you said it was a 14-year-old girl.
There was a 14-year-old girl,
there was
and then
a
three
14.
other girls who were between 16 and 18, I think.
How long ago? This was like 10 years ago or 20 years ago? Or
This
when
was
happened?
this was like 30 years ago.
Okay.
So, but during his time as a I believe it was an attorney in Alabama, he was known pretty widely to have relationships with teenage girls.
Got it.
People thought that was weird. But what's interesting to me is the reaction that the country has had and the reaction that Alabama has had, because I followed the reporting closely. So across the country, I mean, what's your initial reaction when you hear that?
When I hear that
there's a story in the Washington Post that has been corroborated by 30 sources claiming that this individual, with the evidence based off of talking with this individual who they sought out, she didn't come to them, they sought her out, based off of whispers and rumors, talked to all of her friends and family, talked to other people, tried to get a sense of, was this something that she recounted immediately afterwards and continued saying throughout the years. She had voted Republican in the last 3 elections, so she's a staunch Republican. And with this Me Too movement that's going on right now, she felt like when the Washington Post reported her, she needed to say, yes, this actually happened. And so that's how this all came about. And you have... Yeah, I'll let you give your reaction.
So when that stuff happens, there's no reason for me to not believe it, but at the same time, I always kind of like tilt my head inquisitively, like, like I said, when you were talking about the Louis C.K. thing, like how much of this is authentic and how much of this is people trying to jump on the bandwagon of what's going on and take advantage of a situation.
Oh.
But and it's hard too because like you said with the New York Times, with Louis C.K. and the Washington Post, like these are very reputable media outlets.
Yeah.
But then there's the whole thing that went on over like the summer and this last year, like alternate truth. So it's like, there's like
news kind of thing.
fake news and stuff, and like people will do anything for for the most part to get $1. So even like the most reputable media outlets too, I ask myself like, okay, well, yeah, they're reputable, but like how much is truth and how much is distorting something just to get more viewership towards them and away from competitors. But when I hear this type of stuff, I don't dismiss it completely, but I'm not gonna buy into it 110%. I'll believe it, but I'll also kind of listen for any counterpoints that may well, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, and God, you sound like a fucking Republican lawmaker.
Oh my
If
God.
the allegations are true, so the difference between what's going on, and I think that you summed up a lot of white. Straight
I was about to say,
male
I was about to say this is a
of the
total
situation.
white straight male response, and so please enlighten me if there's something that I'm missing that hasn't crossed my mind because it just hasn't.
Yeah, no, and I think that that's very interesting for me to hear, just as somebody who doesn't really follow the news and just the initial reaction I think is very common among people of our ilk, right? I don't think that is. I'm not going to condemn you for that, but so I guess where I come down as somebody who does follow the news is that yes. There is this. I think that you are absolutely right to be skeptical about the whole situation about fake news because there is so much misinformation out there that who do we know to trust? I would say who do we know to trust? It's the people who have proven to be true and accurate in their reporting consistently time and time again. And for me, those are national newspaper outlets primarily. I would discount cable. I would say newspapers are probably the best resources for journalistic integrity. If there's something that's going to be true and provably true, it's going to be published through one of those primary magazines, New York Times, Washington Post, and Wall Street Journal. There's one other that I'm forgetting as well. But my attitude is these people, it is their career to be able to. Because if what they are saying about these people is false, they can be sued for that. It's liable. And even if you're a public figure.
Yeah, if you're
if you're making allegations,
your career is on the line. Whereas if you're watching cable news, you're just sitting there and regurgitating what's being fed to you from the teleprompter.
Yeah. And so again, it goes back to, and this is the thing too, is that a lot of people report on, and I think this is where it's good to be skeptical. So a lot of people report on these news stories, but they don't report everything or they don't report part of it. And that's where I think that you're right in being skeptical about believing everything that you hear on TV, because you're going to only get the parts that they want to bring out, right? What needs to happen is people need to read those original articles, not listen to any commentary or news and make up their own mind based off of their writing in reputable news organizations. Like, that stuff is about as perfectly true as you can get. Because they have the resources, they spend their careers investigating, they know how to get information and be able to publish it to the world. The problem is when that good and accurate information is then distributed to everyone else, and they do their own spin on it. Because it's like, let's point out this one sentence in this article that is totally irrelevant to the point that they're trying to make, but they use that as their basis for dismissing it or confirming it. So
what's the current status on the situation with the senator?
So Roy Moore obviously denies this. He says he generally does not date girls under 18. The interview that he had was super awkward. But getting back to the point that I sort of wanted to at the beginning, sort of sidetracked, but across the country you have the general sense of outrage that said, even Republicans who say, if these allegations are true, which, fine, whatever, That's
Yeah.
that's a legitimate whatever, and I think that that's the attitude that you take. Is like there needs to be more evidence that comes out, right? If suddenly a dozen more women come out and say that they were underage when Roy Moore was fondling them or something like that, then I'm sure that you would put more weight on
Yeah.
that. And so, yeah, that's all well and good, but everyone says this is reprehensible, immoral behavior. In Alabama, they say even if it is true, it's still fine because it's not like he had sex with her. And then when it comes to the other thing was, well, Mary was a young teenager and Joseph was a middle-aged man when they got together. So the Bible says it's okay. And obviously everyone has pointed out, well, the whole point is she was the Virgin Mary. You don't F with the teenager. But that is like the thing that they say over and over again. And then they say, well, I mean, it's whatever. Like, it's just part of our culture that older men date younger women. And that is the consistent. Oh, one of the best quotes was, 14-year-old girls aren't really that innocent. That was another one that, like, the attitude that these prepubescent teens get into trouble, and so they get what they have coming to them, is this general sense of the attitude that I'm getting out of Alabama. Over and over again, these reports talking with people on the streets, like, well, even if it is true, so what? I mean, that's just our way of life down here. And I think to myself, how effed up. You have kids who are growing up, little girls who are growing up in this environment told that basically they are sex objects for older men, and that's their place in the world. And it's the 21st century. It's 2017, soon to be 2018, and this is still the way the kids are being raised in Alabama. And the fact that the state is pretty much uniformly Republican, and they're all defending Roy Moore in this similar manner, is like, it's okay, because that's just what we do. We have relationships with 16-year-old girls, 30-year-old men. Like, how effing creepy is that? You think about that. That is just, it's so disturbing.
Wow. So when was that this story came out?
It came out about a week ago.
So what are your predictions?
Dude, it is totally possible Alabama will elect him senator.
Okay.
Even as
then this thing will get
pedophile.
Swept under the rug, and then become a thing of the past, and no one will.
Well, here's the predicament.
Remember it.
Is that on one hand, I'm a liberal who would prefer to see Democrats in office, and so I think that Roy Moore as elected senator would be the greatest thing since sliced bread, because we could tar the rest of the Republican Party with the party of the pedophile, which isn't fair, but that's what would happen.
Yeah.
Like, I know my liberal colleagues. I know this is the route that it would take. If he gets elected, they're going to be the party of the pedophile. Like, that is going to be their slogan for the next couple of years into the midterms. And if he doesn't get elected, it will be this tremendous landslide of concern to Republicans that they need to abandon Trump, because Roy Moore is basically mini Trump, more or less.
When was the last? Does Alabama even have any
Since Reconstruction
liberal senators or congressmen? Yeah, I didn't think
it was back during when the parties were switching and Democrats were the conservative Southerners and Republicans were the Northern party of Lincoln. That was the last time there were Democratic senators, is after the Civil War, or after civil rights.
I really want to. Just because I like things that get switched up and changes and feathers being ruffled and stuff.
I love chaos.
I really would love to see the emergence of a new political party. Like, how back in the day there's like the Whigs, and you know what I'm saying?
And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
I would love to see that happen for the sole purpose of just to see something change.
Because let me tell you, man, like, I may be liberal, but the Democratic Party has so many issues. It is almost equally corrupt as the Republican Party. They do less horrible things to their constituents, but they're still as corrupt. I mean, they're still power brokers, and their interest and influence outweighs their desire for public service. What we're seeing is in Kentucky, I believe. Is it Kentucky or Virginia? No, Kentucky. That there are a couple of 4 16-year-old high schoolers, guys, running for governor's office, because in the Constitution there is no minimum age requirement. So they can run for office, but they can't vote for themselves.
Okay.
And so, but you're seeing these people young kids who have sort of filtered out this whole narcissistic culture thing that we have right now, see the narcissism around us and say, we can do better. Like, we're interested in public service. We're not interested in power. We're not interested in self promotion, that sort of thing. We just want to be good civil servants and have conversations with other people. You see all these people running for office. And you had the election of 2017 where you had, the first transgender statewide elected official.
I saw that, yeah.
You had a Liberian immigrant beat out a 13-term congressman who wanted to ban Liberians from living in the state. And so you see this weird sort of tide of like, okay, I mean, what would a future where we can have conversations look like? And that's why I really hope there's so many women elected. But yeah, the destruction of the parties, I think, is necessary, and I think that's happening right now. Dude,
Chaos, a good
chaos.
thing.
Well, and I was watching the Alabama game last night. They played Mississippi State. Talk about fucking Southern hicks slamming into each other. but it was the number 1 team Georgia lost and the number 3 team Notre Dame lost, and Alabama was number 2, and up until the last 2 minutes of the game they were losing. So you could have had 1, 2, and 3 in the college football rankings lose, and with the 4 college playoff system, that would have thrown everything into chaos. And I was like, oh man, not only would I love the added benefit of watching Alabama lose, but I would love to see the chaos that would come out of that. I love
When was the
disruption.
last time they lost a game?
The bowl, the championship game last year.
Oh, I don't pay attention to
I think that's
football that much. I just know they're insanely good.
They've lost 2 games in the past 3 years. Maybe 3 games in the past 4 years.
Interesting.
They are really unstoppable. It's very.
Do you like watching as a spectator more college football or NFL?
College, definitely.
Really?
There's more excitement. The fans like the vibe. These players are playing for adrenaline and love the sport. You know, it's not about being a professional athlete. It's about being fucking great on the field and entertaining the crowd. Yeah. So I love watching those big games where you have the underdog at home and they're beating the Titan. And that's where I think college is different than the NFL, is that the upsets can be so much more shocking and exciting than in the NFL. There's not really the potential for that sort of excitement, I think. Teams are pretty equal in the NFL. I mean, you may have like the Oakland Raiders, the LA Raiders playing the New England Patriots.
Raiders are in Oakland now. It's the Rams that moved to LA.
LA Rams, okay.
Or like Cleveland and Cincinnati and
exactly.
Bears,
the Browns versus the Patriots.
Yeah,
you know, you might expect a blowout there, but you're not going to get too excited if the Browns end up winning, because it's like, it's possible. It's much more possible than, say, Drake University beating Alabama. I mean, which would never happen, but there's always the possibility.
What's great though too is the fantasy leagues. Man,
you love your fantasy
because you just have players from different, just like the crazy shit that can happen in fantasy. I think is just as crazy as what can happen in the NCAA.
Yes, and I think that I think is equal excitement to like watching a exciting college football game, because of the opportunity for like massive wins or the tight squeakers. I mean, there's the fluctuation. You never know how it's going to turn out until the games actually start and you see the numbers coming in.
Pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, man.
What else is on your mind?
Well, one thing that I had noticed now that we're in the cold season, I don't know if you had any of your trees by your house. This was so weird, and I wish that I had gotten a video of it. But over the course of 2 hours, an entire tree that had green leaves, it was for the first frost.
Yeah, it's just all the leaves are completely gone
over the course of 2 hours. And it was from maybe 6 in the morning to 8 in the morning. And I'd gotten up, looked out, it was coming down for the next 2 hours, and the tree was just barren afterwards. All the leaves were green, and they just fell.
Yeah,
and it
my
was a
neighbor's
totally barren tree.
I walk outside, and I see leaves falling, like it's raining.
It's like
leaves.
raining leaves.
It's raining leaves.
Yeah.
I come back later in the day, and I'm like, no fucking way. Completely barren. Same thing.
Yeah.
Like all the leaves are completely gone.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to it too much. I just noticed that because it was my next door neighbor. and we have a pine tree, which stays the same all year long. And then there's a maple tree in our backyard, which is this big-ass tree, so it takes more time for all the leaves to fall. But I can't remember what type of tree this is, but it's maybe like 20 feet tall. It's not that huge. But, yeah, leaves were just... I was amazed at how fast the leaves were just falling and falling and falling. And there wasn't really any wind. I'm just like, what is going on?
Well, yeah, because I talked to my mom about it, and she's like, every year those type of trees normally turn yellow or turn color.
Yeah, these ones turn... The leaves were... They're during the year, they're like a dark purple, like a maroon type color. And they were yellow when they were falling.
Yeah, and ours, I think, were normally turned bright, beautiful yellow, and they were just all green. Not a single one had started to turn yet. It was just... It was very weird because... It's just like the tree is like, yep, I'm going to sleep. Goodbye.
Yeah,
like you leaves are on your own now. Just shut it down. But yeah, we had flurries a couple of days ago.
I was at the train station the other day, and there was salt all over the thing.
My sister said there was a half an inch.
And it snowed. I think it snowed in Chicago a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I went to the train station in Glen Ellen, and I saw the salt on the pavement. And I was just like, fucking A. Here we go. Here we go again.
Here we go again.
And
'Tis
then,
the season.
Yeah.
I was looking up because Minnesota is one of those places that I may possibly be moving in the near future. And not near future, but...
When do you go visit? You're going up there to visit them, right?
I'm heading up there next week.
Okay.
Next weekend. I will
for a weekend?
I'll be there from Thursday through Wednesday,
Wow.
I think. So I'll be there for almost a week. Yeah, get a chance to catch up with them. I think we're going to look around. I'm going to have them help me out and see if there's places of potential employment up there and go from there. But the world is an oyster. But anyway, getting back to, I was looking at I'm always interested in how cold it is up north. And holy crap, man. It is sub-zero. Sub-zero without the wind chill. It is absolutely nuts. But I can see we're actually running short on time. So
yeah, one thing I would like to try in like Wisconsin or Minnesota, if I were to freeze my ass off, I would be down to just do like ice fishing. That's something that I've
in the wilderness.
I think it would be
love
really
to do
cool.
ice. Let's try and do that.
Because I know they have a machine that you take out ice to make the hole, and have like this like foot of ice that you had drilled out, and then just drink some beers and fish and just talk and hang out.
Let's try and do that.
I've never done ice fishing. I think it'd be really cool.
Road trip.
Okay, we can plan that out
this winter.
Plan that out for sure.
All right.
Well, I guess that concludes things.
From Alabama to Minnesota, we've covered it all.
Yeah, covered it all.
We'll catch you next time.
Catch you next time.